Homies, Gen.G versus Bilibili. Bilibili, in my mind, I think coming into the tournament, I think that they were by far the strongest early game team. Strongest early game team, I think at this point, especially with the series against T1, I think it can extend to that their jungle and support play in terms of how they play together, Shun and On, I think is by far the best in this tournament. I think this is Bilibili's biggest edge. I think Elk is performing pretty solid. He had some rough games too, to be perfectly honest, especially in that first series against PSG. But Elk is amazing. But I'm focusing on the details that have agency. What Shun and On do so well is that in terms of how they manage space and how they cross through when they actually have mid-prio, they are so nimble and quick to collapse on side. And I think in terms of how they progress the game, when they want to pressure the map, they are so damn sharp. I think this was the most visible against T1, and I think that was a series where they really came in like giga prepared. And I think that this is going to be the biggest edge they have against Gen.G. I think that they've shown enough understanding of lane swaps and the position in the game for them to not have a significant disadvantage there. But I think that, it's such an interesting, matchup in the sense that Gen.G, I think their biggest strength is that I think in terms of how Gen.G spaces fights and get value out of ranged champions allows them to pick greedier compositions that don't rely on actually having champions that are designed to create space. I think that on Gen.G's side, something that, like in regards to their players, I think that the biggest standout for me is Keen and also Chovy. I think Keen and Chovy, they are so good at farming side. They are very good at farming side, which means that they assess information real time and they invite the enemy to waste time chasing them. I think this is where Gen.G are powerful. They can make games very frustrating and they can drag them out, which is so crucial, right? Which is so crucial in terms of what Chovy wants to achieve. I think that this allows them to always fight on, of course, the terms that Chovy wants to fight on. Chovy is the lightning rod for everything that is strong about this team. I think that, Chovy has an impeccable lane phase in terms of what he can play, in terms of what he can pick. He has a significant advantage. He's like the only player that I would like to see Corki on. Everyone else should not play Corki. And I think the way they play Corki is also a very good example of what Gen.G's strengths are. They rally around the package. They rally around the package super well, and they allow for the situation to really breathe so Corki can reach the right items. I think Gen.G is good at selecting their fights. They're very good at farming. But in terms of dynamic gameplay and creating great advantages, I think this is where Bilibili is much sharper. I think that when Gen.G get a lead, they like to walk the ball in, right? They like to walk the ball in. And when you take it into football terms, Gen.G is the type of team to win with a 1-0, right? They win with a 1-0. Bilibili has the potential to win with 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, right? A win's a win, and the way you do it can matter, right? In terms of how dynamic you are, but Gen.G like to take secured wins. The big question marks for Gen.G in terms of their flaws currently is that Canyon has been wildly inconsistent. Something that has plagued, I think, LCK, both T1 and this team, is the fact that the Rel is not a champion in the jungle anymore. I think that this was something that he liked to play a lot. Sejuani is the follow-up, right? I think if we look at Canyon's games, his Kha'Zix was something that was good in the finals. He outplayed Owner, he got an advantage against Owner, but at the same time, like Canyon is not playing at the same level as he once did. Canyon is my jungle GOAT, but when I see him on the Nidalee, getting outplayed by Tian on Sejuani and not spacing the position of the enemy mid lane and enemy bot lane too well, if you compare it to the Canyon that played against that played on Damwon against Gen.G in that series, where he was spacing everyone on the map simultaneously so well, which is why Cannon is my GOAT in the jungle. We don't have that same level. A lot of imprecisions. In the series against Top Esports, I think that he was a big reason why Top Esports actually got a lot of opportunities. His Vi gameplay, he was over posturing, diving in situations where it wasn't the right thing to do. Jakulov baited him, and he was playing a very, very hard Draven game, if you guys remember. Very hard Draven game, and he got invited into team fights that were even beneficial to a Draven, even though everything could collapse on him and everything could fall apart on him. So Canyon, I think, is quite inconsistent in his play, but I appreciate the confidence to lock a Nidalee in the game 5. Because even though he had a rough start, he got caught on the Raptors and he got caught on the blue. I'll just show it so this footage is more dynamic.
To downgrade
I will show it Gen.G versus Bilibili game 5. Sorry, Gen.G versus Top Esports game 5. I'll show it. Here it is. So
this is the pick that he showcases mastery.
So here the Nidalee, obviously Tian plays it really, really well, but you can see that Canyon is pressuring invade, his spears are landing, he gets queued, and here the spacing in terms of Corki, Corki's on the turret right now, and he's pushing forward, his bot lane is not connected. Canyon usually didn't make mistakes like this in the good old days. He gets killed, and look at that beautiful Tian flash, it's gorgeous. And then the extension here as well. You have Canyon going into enemy jungle here on chickens, and Urgot is hovering, there's no position on midwave, and Canyon here with no flash, 369 E flashes and gets him. But keep in mind, Canyon is a player that plays with such confidence. He recovers this game, gets gank on top into a double kill on bot lane, and Canyon is back and his spears are landing. It's interesting because both junglers actually play Nidalee. I think the key thing is we might see Nidalee in spots where both teams play Tristana, right? Tristana has been super, super high prio, and both of these teams play Tristana. And I think that's going to be a crucial aspect of course, the draft. But more on that soon. So we talk about Gen.G. We've categorized Canyon. I think that he has a lot of confidence, and I think that nothing will waver him. I like him when he picks the carries. I think that Sejuani is a crucial pick, but the lack of Rel is definitely something that hurts them. I think you should really not play Vi. I think Vi will most likely be a permaban for them. Right? If you look at what Gen.G has banned the most, 48%, that's the Vi ban. I think that they should continue with a Vi permaban against Shun. Because on the flip side, I do think that Shun, one of his best champions, is the fucking Vi. I think that how active he is in the early game with the Vi really breaks the rules of how teams actually view the Vi. He finds level 3 dives, finds gank angles with his flash, and then later scales into that 6 and has really good synergy with everything that Knight wants to play. And I think that with how good Shun and On is, I think that the Vi ultimate is just a little bit too powerful. So I wouldn't be surprised if Vi is something that is going to be on the radar for Gen.G to ban. So we talked about Shun and On. I think Elk has an advantage over Paze. I think Paze, Kalista, making sure that Paze can stabilize the lane is something that is good. I don't think Paze is straight up a liability. I think he's fine. I think he's going to be a bit of a passenger in everything that goes down. He has a Draven in the back pocket, but I don't believe that's something that's going to show up. Plays the Senna. I don't think that he's that big of a problem. I think something that is interesting, right, is that if there's a team that can actually show up with Aphelios Lulu against Lucian Nami because they want to create more space in the pick ban, this is the team to do it. I do think that Paze and Lehens is probably the best Aphelios Lulu team at this tournament. And this is something that they can show up with. I think the best version of Paze is the one that plays Aphelios, and they can definitely drop a little Lulu Aphelios into the Lucian Nami, which is another resource they have then in, of course, Champion Select. When it comes to mid lane, I do think Chovy is better than Knight, but Knight, of course, is a fantastic player too. I think the key difference is in the champion pools. Like if we just think about the champion pools, when it comes to the Chovy, he has the Corki. We never want to see Knight on Corki ever again. He has also the Aurelion Soul, which is something that Knight is not so good on. And additionally, there is the Azir. Where these three champions, I think this is where I think that Mr. Chovy has an edge. They have Tristana, which is a shared champion. Both of them play it. The main mystery in my mind about Gen.G is it seems like Chovy is in a state of mind where he just wants to repeat playing the same champs over and over again. He just wants to pick a champ that is good in every game. He doesn't pivot out of it, doesn't optimize. Pick me 1, 2, 3. Let Keen counterpick. Let Lehens counterpick. No problem. I can pick 1, 2, 3 to set up my other teammates to counterpick, and I'll always be useful. That is like the powerful thing about Chovy. He locks in Koki and he doesn't fall behind in lane and actually fucking shows up big. That's why for me, when it comes to Chovy in particular, I'm not so sure where the evolution will be in terms of what he plays. We've seen the Aurelion Sol. We've seen also the Corki. These are the champions that we know of. In the next series that they played against top esports, there was the Koki, because Aurelion Sol was permabanned, the Koki blind, and then Gen.G follow up with a little Azir when Koki is out and Aurelion Sol is banned, and then Azir gets locked in with the Hui Tristana banned, so they're aware of the Tristana and they targeted the champion pool of the enemy well. Ari gets through, which is probably something that is going to be banned 1, 2, 3 against Bilibili. And then he continues to funnel himself into the same champion. It's like a sequence, right? It's like Corki over Aurelion over Azir. And I don't know what the evolutions will be. I really don't know what the evolutions will be. Chovy is centering himself around the same champions over and over again. So even though historically we've seen him play Tristana, we've seen him play Ari, I don't know what Chovy is cooking. I really don't know what Chovy is cooking. Because right now he's been playing mainly focused on these. And in playoffs, you guys remember, he has had series where he played 5 games of Azir, 5 games of Talia straight. And there seems to be a very evident kind of prio system that he follows by. You know? While on the other side, when we think of Knight, Tristana is a big one for him, Ari is a big one for him. Annie is something that he could play into Annie, like Ari, but not that big of a deal. Another champion that Chovy refuses to play is Orianna, right? So Orianna is something that, of course, a Knight has in the back pocket. Chovy, interesting enough, there's 2 champions he, in his career, never plays. If we pull up his stats. Chovy, he never plays. He played 1 Orianna. If we scroll down, let's find Orianna. It's like, in the past he did. But when we think back to Season 13, Season 13 was a massive Orianna year. Massive Orianna year. Not a single Orianna game. This year as well. Like you remember, guys, the run of Orianna, Caps Orianna, Faker Orianna. This was massive peak at the tournament. Doesn't play it at all. Season 14, 1 Orianna game. And funnily enough, you know, I was looking into it and I wanted to check when was the last time he played Orianna. And I made this conspiracy theory that here there's a moment in time where he loses with Orianna. I'm trying to find the game. Where is it? Here he loses as Orianna against KT Rolster. And this was a very interesting series because they got 2-0'd by a much weaker roster. This is Doran, Peanut, Chovy, Ruler, Lehens. Chovy plays against Orianna, loses. Plays Orianna himself the next game and has a horrible build. He has fucking Hourglass, Oblivion Orb, no AP Orianna build at all, and he loses. Baby, Chovy is a person that he's very superstitious about this, never wants to play Orianna again. That's my conspiracy theory when it comes to this. This was like 1 Orianna, and he played another Orianna during the regular split, but he just doesn't want to play Orianna, it seems. Doesn't want to play Orianna. The continuation, if we think about Knight, let myself have a little refresher. The Nico, it's like Nico is something that can be played, right? Nico can be played when you really need prio. When you really need prio, you can pick Nico. But the issue with Nico right now is that her itemization is just so trash. Like Nico support is so much better because you are a champion with Proto Belt and Flash and the same amount of value that you have in support or mid lane is the same. Like buying 2 items, 3 items, 4 items on Nico sucks ass. It really doesn't make a difference in the power of the champion. Knight also has his pocket pick Syndra. That's a classic. We don't want to see any Diana. And of course, if these players want to get funky, you know, there's the Yuju, the Silas, there's the other stuff. But I think everything will be centered around the shared prio on Talia, Orianna as an answer into Talia if Talia is first picked. Ahri is something that will be target banned, and then Tristana is crucial. You know, I think that in terms of where bans might land, I think that they might target this pool of champions and then contest over Talia. Orianna is the answer into Talia, and I could see a world where Gen.G ban Tristana and look to first pick Talia, and we might see Aurelion Sol Corki attacks. Right? The Nico Syndra is in very deep scenarios, right? Syndra, it's very special. It's like, we could even argue that Corki is quite weak right now. Chovy's an outlier, right? Chovy's a massive outlier when it comes to Corki. We've seen every motherfucker at this tournament run it down with Corki. The worst games we saw from some players are on Corki. So maybe Corki is not even strong right now after the changes. He's a packet merchant, right? But somehow Chovy makes it work, right? Chovy makes it work in a way that is very oppressive. So it could be that we set up a scenario where the teams are going to combat over Talia, the Orianna is the answer, and then Ahri is also something that is targeted, right? And then the question is, how do you want to prioritize the Trist, or where do you want to go? Because this is the main question towards Chovy. When we peel the onion that is Chovy, what state of mind is he in of what he wants to play? You know, that's what I'm really curious about, because it's like Azir, we already talked about it. Azir, Aurelion Sol Corki is his go-to, but I think it's very important that they actually actively contest the Talia, because I do think that Knight Talia is one of his better picks. But if we think about the answers into Talia specifically, it is Ahri, it is Orianna, and it's also Tristana. And the reason I think that contesting the Talia pick is super important, because in terms of what Chovy has played so far, it is indeed the Azir. And if you want to cut the pool in half, you contest, of course, the Talia, but this is also the comfort zone of Knight. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them to actually target these two mid laners. I think it makes a lot of sense to target these two mid laners. I think Chovy has this attribute that he can get out of lane and can find advantages and can find farm. And I think these two champions are the most dangerous. If this is the pool where Knight can contest, I think that he is very happy. I think that he's very, very happy. And then it's a question of how does Gen.G want to target their bans? Because the Ahri is insanely dangerous. Insanely dangerous. And then the question is, will Chovy play or Tristana? Will he bust out the Ahri again? Because in the past he was fantastic Ahri, but it's been a while, right? It's been a while. So I'm really curious how this plays out. But I think that these two bans are very good. I think that this is very, very good. I could see Chovy pulling the Yone versus Trist. I don't think Yone is that good into Tristana. You can buffer his CC, you push, you have full pressure. I think that Tristana is very happy to play against Yone. And usually when it comes to Chovy, I feel like Chovy is the type of player, he picks his 3-4 champs, picks them 1, 2, 3, and enjoys himself. And I think that gives a lot of freedom to Keen and Canyon to find strong counters, you know? So I wonder, where does Chovy go after these champs? Or will we just see a trade from these champs against these champs with Gen.G finding specific bans? That's what I'm super, super curious. Looking at the rest, right? Gen.G played Ashe themselves, right? They played Ashe. Tobisus plays Ashe too. There wasn't heavy prio on it. I think that this is something that both sides can play coming into this one. I think for bot lane, right? I think the cool thing is, right? The cool thing is, right, is that if they want to try, right, I think red side is easier to draft bot lane because you get counter pick support, or you can pick full combos on 1-2, right? I'm really curious. We will. It's high chance that we get to see Aphelios Lulu, right, as matchups, right? This is not entirely unlikely. Like, I'm just playing out the ban scenario, right? A bigger ban scenario. Let's say we see this situation. We see, let's say a Nautilus ban could be one, right? To lower the prio on Senna, and then maybe Talia first pick, right? Maybe we have a situation like this, and then maybe Tristana gets locked in, or Orianna gets locked in. That's something that could happen in these type of spots, right? Maybe just Kalista ban. Kalista ban is something that could make sense. Varos Ashe. When I think back to both of these ADs, I feel like both of them prefer Kalista over, of course, Varos. Don't you think Pace can pick Zeri? I don't think Zeri is strong right now. I think that Pace would probably prefer to play Aphelios in the Lulu matchup against Lucian Nami. I think there could be a chance, right, that we have the setup where a team is forced to pick Kalista, but I think here you have to choose. I think the evolution is that red side should ban Kalista and then play Varos against Lucian Nami and then play it like that. And then here you can choose. I just think that the team that is in a Talia case is going to always be worse off if this is the case, or if this is the case. So I think Kalista will be the third ban. And then I think that blue side will not invest a ban into Lucian Nami because they have the Lulu prepared. And this is where I am thinking that the series will evolve into, It's like Gen.G, the one edge they have in bot lane is that they lack the Lulu Aphelios matchups, Which I think is very interesting, right? There could be a scenario, right, where Nautilus doesn't get banned and the Nautilus first pick occurs and they just play Azir. Why is Nautilus permaban? I think Nautilus enables Senna, right? Nautilus enables Senna. I guess we could take a look at Billy's bans as well against T1. All right, T1, they just banned Azir, Orianna, Ashe. Azir, Orianna, Ashe. And Azir, Orianna, Ashe, and then finally they banned Azir, Orianna, Talia. Kalista first pick Senna, right? This was not a bad draft. It's just that the Akali pick is very, very bad. Very, very bad. Super, super, super bad. Because this could also be an entirely possible scenario where you have this to be the draft. This could also be a situation, right? Where maybe the Senna gets contested and you play it like this with the Lucian ban. I think the bot lane situations kind of play out themselves, right? I think these bot lane situations kind of play out themselves. We shall see, We shall see. It's like here you kind of have to choose. But I think that Kalista ban with Talia open makes a lot of sense on red side. I think these situations that we saw, for example, today in draft, like these type of spots, this type of spots here is tough. T1 is an outlier in the sense that they can pick Kalista Varus, but they wanted to give it up this time. And then they realized, bro, playing Kalista against Talia is miserable. Let's pivot away, right? And here Talia gets picked, Varus gets picked, and the enemy gets Talia and Kalista. And then Nautilus, Kalista, Nautilus. You can also have, we might see a scenario where Varos Ashe may be something that both teams overly respect, right? Because it could be a simple Varos first pick, and then we have this situation, right? And then we will have like lane swap shenanigans with Lucian Nami. Like that's something that could happen, right? Maybe in this type of spot, if you are too afraid of this trade, maybe you just ban Ashe, right? Instead, and then the enemy gets the Talia first pick. But this looks like a good scenario for blue side, you know? Like this looks like a good scenario for blue side, in my opinion. I think that you're very happy if you Gen.G if this is your rotation, you know? And then you get Varus Oriana, then probably you go like Kalista Renata, or maybe like Zinzao or whatever you're thinking, right? And then you match support, right? Here on 3. Like that's also a scenario that can play out if you are afraid of the Varus Ashe. It's hard to judge how much the teams value Varus Ashe because the prio on it is very sporadic. Some teams seem to be of the opinion if you swap against it and it doesn't get to pressure level 1, 2, 3, it's not that strong, and it's kind of back and forth, you know? Another thing that's powerful here, I think that something that Gen.G should really utilize is the fact that their Rumble, like their top laner, their top laner is the best Rumble at the tournament. By far the best Rumble at the tournament. If they want to go the route where they are exploring, for example, Tristana cases, like they could also do something like this. And then maybe invite the Ahri. And this is a very nice matchup for the Tristana, right? They can definitely play games like this. Where they set up Tristana cases for themselves because Tristana can play into Ahri and Kalista and then they have the Rumble flex right here on 3. And this is definitely something that can also, you know, be expanded on in my mind, right? When we look at draft. Like this is also like an interesting scenario. Removing Oriana is the best answer into the Trist, play Tristana. But that's what's so interesting here about Chovy is that I'm expecting him to play to the same priors. Like he goes into tournaments and sticks to a few couple of champions. Let me just make sure I confirm this. Let's pull up Chovy. Let's see, for example, what he did at the World Championship last year. World's main event. We had the Akali prior, right? He loved to play Akali. Very few games, bro. Like Worlds is so short. Crazy how short Worlds is. We had the Akali. He was in the melee mode, just playing melees. And then SK Spring. It's like SK Spring is just so fucking long, right? But if we look at playoffs, it narrowed down, right? It narrowed down. He played one Trist game. I wonder if Chovy is the type of player to lose one game and never want to play a game of it again. Let's take a look at what game it was. So it's Chovy. Bro, this draft is so ass. Holy. that draft is terrible, man. This is fucking Infinity Edge Tristana. And then he has Jace, Jax, Tristana topside. That is atrocious. Like an Infinity Edge Tristana. That is horrible, bro. Maybe Chovy just doesn't want to play this shit, man. I think we will have the Talia scenario, bro. The Talia scenario is going to happen with Ahri ban. And then the main question is like if they are going to just open all bot laners and ban Trist. And then like invite this. Maybe this could be the case. Maybe something like that, you know. Maybe they play that scenario. So I think that these bans make the most sense. I think this is what makes Knight be in his element. I think this makes Knight the most comfortable, and I think that Bilibili has have an advantage in the fact that their bot lane can play most things. Right? They play most things. No Draven, no Kog'Maw, no Samira, but they play like the meta stuff, right? The Senna lanes, the Lucian lanes. I think also they could play Lulu lanes. They could play Lulu Zeri, they could play Lulu Aphelios, the same as Gen.G, right? They can definitely play that too. So I think that they have freedom in how they can use their bans early. But I'm curious what the prior will be on Varus Ashe. And I think that contesting Talia is going to be super important. Super important. I think that giving away Talia tonight is going to be interesting. And then on the other side too, you know, like what answer will you have prepared against the Talia first pick if these are the bans that the enemy prepares for you, you know? And this is where Chovy needs to show his face, you know? But I really think if he prepared this Tristana and they drop the Rumble too, I think this could be like a very, very nice angle. And then maybe at that point, they need to rethink their bans. When I think of Keen, I think of Rumble, Twisted Fate, and I think of also K'Sante. I actually think that Keen to me seems a little bit better than Bin, just based off of champion pool. So I give a slight edge to Bin here, slight edge to Keen, sorry, because I think that these three champions are such strong top laners, and I think that being able to pick them and blind them, of course with Jax ban here, if you want to set up for the Jax for the TF, I think it's very, very good, you know. He has Urgot too, good shout, yeah. I think Keen is just is very happy in this meta, very happy in this meta. And Bin is a little bit more of a passenger on his team, but honestly, that's the virtue. That's the fucking virtue of course, the top lane role right now. The top lane role is just like that. So the main question, right? I think Gen.G need to figure out ways how to stabilize early game. I think if they have a winning bot matchup that is like basically allows them to control initiative, I think they're very happy. And if they can create a game condition where, oh, at 25 minutes, if we contest 4th Drake, we can win, and they can stabilize the game, I think it's good. But I think if they are weaker on side, this is where I get scared for them. Being stronger on side is insanely OP. So I think it would be a big plus if Gen.G actually prepared the Tristana. If they prepared the Tristana, Gen.G, I think that it's a really, really big difference maker. Because the main thing for me about the side lane in the current meta game is that the buffs are too OP. The buffs are too OP, pushing side is too OP. You can fight on your condition. You have, of course, Void Grubs too, right? If you can pressure side, because 2v2, you're stronger, then you have initiative. That initiative bleeds into fight selection, because the enemy needs to react to you and catch. And then you can choose to fight on mid or not choose to fight on mid. You can maintain the status quo. And if the enemy then wants to play an objective game, you can always create a scenario where you're pushing top all the way, and you can choose to fight that with your TP or fight with the collapse and making the enemy bleed, or you can commit into tier 2. I think a good example, even today, Team Liquid, when they played Talia Rek'Sai, they did control the flow of the game, right? They chose, the enemy team overpushed for Drake, we got the tier 2, we dove, we killed Faker, and then on the push out, we killed the Vayne again, right? I think having side lane prio is insanely OP. And most bot lanes, right, in terms of how they interact right now on the map, they can get vision around mid, you know? They can get vision around mid. And by extension, how nimble your support and your jungle is crucial. My main concern as well in the in-betweens is that Canyon and Lehens have shown a lot of imprecisions. So I think the key thing is just how does draft expand? Is Chovy ready to play Tristana and contest that pick? Because I think that's super interesting. And what kind of level of Canyon Lehens will we see that they can match Shun and On in terms of how they control the flow of the map? So to boil everything down, I am going to predict Bilibili to win this one. I think they showed a higher level. And I think that some of the flaws of Gen.G were showcased in the series against top esports. And some time has passed since they played that series, so it'll be very, very interesting to see the adaptations. But I think in terms of the shown peak, I think Bilibili's series was the most impressive win at this tournament. Most impressive win at this tournament. So I'm going Bilibili win here. The scoreline, I'm actually going to say, it's just a question. It was like, how much do you believe in Chovy? How many games do you think that he's going to take? I think I'm battling between 3-2 and 3-1 in my mind. I just think that Bilibili right now is the most complete team. And I think that the benefit for Knight here is that his teammates are strong enough for them to actually set up Knight for success. And when they set up Knight for success, this guy is still a really fucking good player, Like, as long as he doesn't end up on fucking Corki cases, like in that in this game, right? Like the Corki Wukong here in the 4-5, that was kind of silly, right? No Tristana lock-in because they're worried about what they can pick 4-5 in the jungle. I wonder, like both Shun and Canyon, do they have any history of playing Ivern? Because honestly, this champion is pretty busted. This champion is so busted, but I think in the hands of Yike, he's such a fucking good Ivern. He has 4 Ivern games, 3-1. That's from ages ago, bro. Ivern, all time, not a single Ivern game. Not a single Ivern game. Shun is never playing it. Never playing it. The odds of Canyon playing it seems rather slim. Because I think it's very important to highlight that Ivern is not an easy champion to play. You need to control Daisy good and you need to place bushes insanely good. Yike, how he plays bushes was a masterclass, man. Brilliant. Really, really brilliant. I love that. I really, really love that. So, is there anything else that we can cover? Anything else that we can cover? I think we talked about all the matchup, right? We talked about Keen versus Bin. We talked about lane swaps. We talked about like my expectations. You know, I really hope that they prepared this, man. Like these two champions together in a rotato can be really massive, man. And then the Varus, you know, I think that's super, super cool, man. Like if they manage to do this, I think these small things can really, really change how a matchup could potentially go. Because Rumble is still giga OP top. Hard to find answers against Rumble. And sure, you can lane swap against Rumble, but I think that's fine too. Rumble has ult later. Like, I think that's okay, you know? You just need to be careful about your summoner choice. I think both of these teams should not play Vayne. No joke. I think Vayne, it takes too long for Vayne to actually contribute in the game. I don't like Vayne. Vayne and lane swaps with fucking Flash Ghost. How to counter Triss, Rumble, Varus? Like, it depends on what's open, right? Like, are you getting Kalista for this one, right? Are you getting Kalista? And then probably you have to play Orianna. And then it's like, oh, enemy has Rumble, and then you have to play K'Sante. Like, this could be a situation, right? This could be a situation. This could be like a draft. And I think that this, in the current state of the game, is very interesting. Obviously, K'Sante, I think that K'Sante is better in lane swap than Rumble, but he has to itemize MR, and then Tristana is strong on side, and then you need to make sure that you find the jungle that really makes sense here, right? Like, probably, like, if you can still switch up, right, and send Rumble support. That's like what's OP about this draft, so you have a lot of options. Knight will play Orianna. Knight will play Orianna, we talked about this. I have to make sure that I don't like pour him energy into someone that comes in like late into the stream, you know, because a lot of things we talked about already. But I want to end on the note that this is one of, you know, the most exciting series ever, because we get to see Knight against Chovy. We get to see Knight against Chovy, and that shit is, you know, really hype. Really, really hype. Knight Orianna is mediocre. I think that it's solid. I think it's solid. He's really good on Orianna. I think you maybe watched that game where he bought Medjay against PSG, but I think that his Orianna is good, man. His Orianna is really fucking good. We've been waiting so long for Knight versus fucking Chovy. I'm so happy that we get to experience it, man. So happy, so excited. I think that it's something that we deserve. Does Knight play Tristana much? Yeah, he does. He does. I think Keen is better than Bin because I prefer Keen on TF. I prefer Keen on Rumble. I prefer like K'Sante. I think they're even, but it's like very small, you know. I just think that Bin is not so good TF and Rumble. When I'm saying not so good, he's still good. He's better than 99% of pro top laners. But we're talking about like elite of the elite, you know. Giga elite. So it's like when I say someone's not good and the other person is good, we're talking about very small differences. I really want to really want to highlight that. Keen also has the Urgot angle, you know, like I think that Keen can be more dynamic, right? Because the key thing is like Chovy, I think legit is picking Talia, Aurelion Sol every game just because Canyon is looking for Kha'Zix angles. They're looking for fucking Urgot angles. They're looking for these champs, you know? They're looking for them. Well, MSI meta, Urgot is relevant, Rumble is relevant, and of course, and there's Vayne, bro. I hate Vayne. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like Vayne. I think Zeus is a better Vayne than both Keen and Bin, and he's picking it in fucking crazy scenarios, you know? Like, I think that it's tough. It's tough. I'm looking so forward to the dances before objectives. Like both of these teams are so insanely good when it comes to the objective setup. Like how they space and how they move and how Bilibili will look to pounce to break the range compositions, you know? It's like the one game where Bin played it, right? In this, sorry, I'm trying to find it. When did Bin play it? Bin Vayne. Where's Bin Vayne? Bin Vayne. I'm trying to remember. I just remember that the game was like a fairly easy fucking Vayne game to play. So it was really like rock and roll, right? Let me find it. When the fuck did he play Vayne? No Vayne there. No Vayne there. Okay, there it is. Vayne. Obviously this one, have to say, like them playing Vayne and Asia first time, this was a wonky game. There was another Vayne game that Bin did, no? Or am I crazy? There it is. It's like, this is a solid Vayne lock-in because you don't need to play perfect to win here with Vayne. Like, he cancelled autos, looked quite flimsy, but the enemy team has a really shit comp against Vayne. Really bad comp against Vayne. Really bad. So, he can get away with not playing this champion on 100%, you know? Like, he can get away with playing this at a 95%. Like, Vayne is just good against Kesante, Koki, Taum, Senna. Like, how can they pressure Vayne at all? They can't. Vayne goes invis, move speed, hits, can always get initiative in the fight, no hard CC. When there's no Vayne, no Nautilus, no Talia, I think Vayne becomes stronger. But I think the dangers of lane swap, I think takes such a long time before you're active in the game that I really don't think it's much of a real champion. Vayne is short range. The thing is, move speed is range. Move speed equals range. The distance you can close is like Vayne's range is longer than it's written because of how fast she moves with Ghost and Nimbus and Ulton. And also, she goes invis with Q, so she always has initiative on auto. So her short range doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter. Her move speed equals range. It is Max Vayne stopping. Yeah. I think we covered the cities. I'm so fucking excited. I do think Bilibili is a favorite to win the tournament still. I think that Bilibili macro, what they showed against T1 was sublime, man. Was really sublime. But Gen.G is fucking slippery, man. Really slippery, man. Gen.G is slippery. How they farm with Keen. And of course, how they farm with Keen and how they farm with fucking Chovy on side is amazing, man. It's amazing. But if they are losing on side, legit, like, you need to implement, when you play against Chovy, you have to implement Chovy rules. Chovy rules. Shun and On should just open the map through mid and go into Chovy. Like if we open the Rift kit here, man, and we refresh the page, bro, if the plan is, like Chovy opens on top, you just fucking, you open on his side and you make sure that if Bin or whoever the fuck is playing on side Knight, you just go towards the side, pressure his side. Because honestly, this is what Fnatic did. And I think that was the only thing that looked good for Fnatic in that series against Gen.G, is the fact that they actually managed to find ways to break Chovy on side. If their 2v2 is stronger, 3v3 is stronger, I think that Lehens does a very poor job of connecting to this. That is like the biggest weakness of Lehens in my opinion. Lehens plays so timid and always around mid-wave. And where Gen.G gave up in both the top esports series and also in the Fnatic series was when they were fighting 2v3 on side. And I think Shun and On, they should just implement Chovy rules. Chovy rules, guys. Chovy rules. Just fucking chase Chovy. Chovy rules. Attack him. Like Jordan rules, but Chovy rules. I can give you guys an example, okay? So, Gen.G versus Fnatic game, I think 2.
It was the one around the dragon.
Yeah.
Where
Really gonna flash away though, and then just
we can try and because
dash forward there.
They always just made sure they collapse on, like Razor could just right-click humanoid, perma. And June did the same. It's like, it's very rare that we get to see brother fucking Chovy die on site.
Now trying to get himself
interrupt. It's why Gen.G is so good. They can
and a change. Oscar knows he's just.
but you.
It's gonna be another situation here.
This is when he into getting Max Atlas.
Yeah. We're killing him anyway.
Okay, we're gonna have Razork and June taking over top side again. Canyon is covering, but look, Nami's on midwave. You see, Nami's on midwave right now, and Lucian is in isolation. But these guys are hovering for humanoid to fight on Chovy and Canyon. Alright? This is like a great example of what I mean, you know? Like, Lehens is slow on the connection and they don't pressure the Lucian because Nami Draven is not the same as fucking Lucian Nami, right? Like, Lucian can tether and he can dash and he can play with fake info because the enemy is not going to see Milio until the fight starts, right? So, this is super cool. And I think this is like a way to attack Gen.G. Like, if I'm preparing as Gen.G, bro, I'm implementing Chovy rules, bro. We're making sure that this guy can't fucking farm for free. Like, we're fucking attacking him and we're connecting with fucking Shun and On, and then we fucking attack Chovy, you know? And I think Shun and On are going to be capable of doing this shit. And I think there's ways to attack it in draft. But I'm really curious to see, bro. I would love to see Chovy on Tristana. I hope Chovy isn't like giga locked in to play only the same champs over and over again. But that's it. I think we covered it all.